Check, check. All right, we got a microphone working this time. Thank you for your patience. If you were at the last live stream, which ended seconds ago and lasted for barely 2 minutes, welcome back. If it's your first time here, welcome. This is Inside the Studio. I am Chris Rini, and we are making these vlogs because I am illustrating a book called The Year in Fighting 2019. I've got a Patreon set up, patreon.com/Chris Rini, and you can pay whatever you like. I update it maybe about twice a week, and you can see the artwork that will be in the book, mid-progress pieces, and sometimes just practice work that won't be included. I live sketch the fights as I did this past weekend for UFC Uruguay, and let's get started. I just published a cartoon on bloodyelbow.com where I publish 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern time each day. It was all about Mike Perry. It was a great fight. I really enjoy watching Mike Perry fight, even though he is a questionable human being. I often think twice about whether I am a fan or an aficionado, because watching him be a person is a whole separate experience from watching him fight. They're interconnected, but you can also choose just one or the other. Anyway, I really enjoyed watching Mike Perry fight. I enjoyed watching him be measured. That was my biggest takeaway. I don't actually score the fights live when I'm watching because I'm usually drawing. So my focus is a little, it's not with an analyst's eye or a fight metric type eye. More, I'm looking for visually dynamic images that maybe encapsulate the whole story of the fight, or just something truly unique. I know a couple of weeks ago, Olivier Aubin-Mercier, he did this little, he kept getting his kicks caught, and he would do this little spider monkey hand walk away kind of thing to get away from the single leg, which was hilarious and totally unremarkable, but it was a very funny visual, and that was one of my favorite drawings from an event a couple weeks ago. Anyway, excuse me. For MMA Squared, which is my comic of Bloody Elbow, I did a little two-parter about the profound contrast between the co-main and the main events this week. Just the nonstop action and, quite frankly, fantastic striking battle between Vicente Luque and Mike Perry. Luque definitely is kind of, I don't think he'll win any awards this at the end of the year, even though he's got 2 fight of the night awards. I don't know if you remember, he had this just stunning brawl with Brian Barberena, who he himself puts forth just fantastic fights left and right. Beyond that, I think Luque is going to get a ranked opponent next. He probably is. I was looking at the 10 through 15 rankings, and somebody like Neil Magny, or even, in the Robbie Lawler RDA area, those are the kind of guys that, nobody's mistaking them for being in the prime of their lives. They've got a whole career's worth of fights under their belt. Those are the kind of people that Luque is supposed to be fighting now. He looks fantastic. Mike Perry, I don't know if his fighter maturity and physical maturity will actually converge with his physical gifts, just by virtue of the raw number of fights and strikes that he takes and the damage that he's already taken. I think that the UFC, it's really hard to tell what their intentions are when they book him. I think the the one that took me by surprise the most was the Max Griffin booking. He just got outpointed and outworked by somebody who he stood very little to gain from beating him. And then the Ponzinibbio fight was, Jesus. He just went through a meat grinder for nothing. I don't know. You want to talk rankings? You want to talk bookings? I'll happily talk about that, but that's a hard one to navigate. The UFC has their perception of fighters. Fighters have their perception of themselves, and both of those things they don't always sync up. Anyway, my question to you and my little information that I'll share with you is, after each event, I try and think about whose performances merit inclusion in the book, the illustrated book. And number one, above all else, Volkan Ozdemir, just a fantastic performance. I love that he got a second round finish, that he didn't gas out, measured again in his beating of Ilir Latifi. Although he finished the fight with a pair of left hooks, it was really the knees and the elbows that I thought did just a fantastic amount of damage. That's the kind of stuff that really chips away at a fighter, at their ability to stay in a fight, at their ability to, have quick reactions, to have stamina, and, have like a lot of pop in their punches and their strikes. I really enjoyed watching him be good. There's that strange thing when a fighter comes in and they get a bunch of quick knockouts and you don't get to see them in deep water, and then they shoot up to the top, and he fought Daniel Cormier and he got worked, and then he lost in his follow-up fight. That was a rough one. There was a fantastic quote by Jimmy Smith, the former UFC commentator, who is just why he's not still a commentator. I mean, I've heard reasons why, and they're disappointing, but they have nothing to do with the quality of his work. Anyway, he had a great observation that when a young fighter fights for the title and gets smoked, they usually lose their next fight. And we saw that happen with Ozdemir and also with Darren Till. And I would say, if I were a betting man, that would definitely become part of my strategy, or at least one of the things I'm on the lookout for. Let's see if Alexander Volkanovski, if he loses to Holloway, see what happens in his next fight. That'd be a key. That'd be a really important thing to pay attention to. A guy like Frankie Edgar, he lost to Holloway, but he understands what it is to come back from a loss. I wouldn't think that would factor in much at all. Anyway, so from the card, I'm definitely putting in Ozdemir versus Latifi. Without a doubt, Perry versus Luque. The visual of Perry trapped in the guillotine, throwing punches at what's my lawyer? Exciting. Throwing body punches while trying to work his way through, power through that guillotine, and just watching the blood pump out of him as Luque squeezed at the end of the third. Top notch. Beautiful, beautiful moment. Beautiful, kind of a story of Mike Perry's career, really, at least when he's up against high level competition. There's a certain relentlessness to him that I think makes him really endearing. That personality can only take you so far. It needs the performance in the octagon to really solidify the people's perception of you. And then my other big question is what to do about Carmouche versus Shevchenko. There's a part of me that doesn't want to include it at all. It's because it was so unmemorable. But because there was a belt there, I feel like it has to be there. And then the question becomes, do I highlight the one or two knockdowns, that cool body lock takedown? Or do I highlight the fact that Carmouche did not engage much at all and, kind of play up the distance between them? That's about it. If any of you know anything about iPhones, I have like 2,000 photos on my phone, and all of a sudden my iMac, my desktop has stopped recognizing my phone, and I can't get the pictures off, and I'm kind of near almost totally full. This is truly frustrating. If any of you know anything about getting your computer to recognize your phone again, I'd like to hear about that. Other than that, I think I'm going to wrap it up. We're at a little over 10 minutes. I don't want to ramble unnecessarily. I'll check in with you again later this week, talk more about the book, see if I got anything to show you. Once again, go to patreon.com/Chris Rini. The book is called The Year in Fighting 2019, and it's coming along great. Thanks a lot. Take care of yourself. I'll talk to you later.